Hello my art friends, Cindy Kromholtz with another video for you. I'm in love with the truck, as everyone seems to be. So what I did for this was I have a stencil by Sean Petite, and I actually I couldn't find this color of buffalo plaid paper, so I took a piece of black and white buffalo plaid paper and I just colored it with some of what I call my crazy turquoise color, and I let that dry, and then I took a white Sharpie and I drew through the stencil. It's not quite perfect or anything, but I'm going to be going around it with a black Sharpie anyway, and probably adding some paint. Not quite sure what I'll do exactly yet, but that's going to be a part of it. I'm also going to use this paper that's from Sean Petite, and I don't really know. I have so many sources for butterflies. I'm not sure where these came from, and I'm not sure where these flowers came from. They were just laying around, and I kind of just laid them down how I wanted them, and then I glued them together a little bit so that I can glue them down on my paper the way I need to. Well, not my paper, my substrate. We're going to use this stencil. I have no idea where I even got this from, but I don't know if you've seen this idea where you can buy these online. I can't remember what they're called, but they're sticky on one side. They're kind of like what items at stores are hung on, you know, they stick to the package. Anyway, they're really good to stick to your stencil, and then you put a dowel or a wire or something and you can hang them. So that's really an easy way to store them and find them. Use a bunch of different paints, I'm not sure what yet. And of course my favorite thing, cement board, or hardy board it's called. It's what we use on the outside of the houses. Has a little stamp from this particular brand. I've already told the story how I had a bunch of that laying around and I was going to put it in the dump, and I thought, oh, could I paint on that? And well, of course you can paint on it. It's house siding. Anyway, I tried it and I really like it because it's like wood, you know, it's solid. I don't really love how canvases give, especially for mixed media. Sometimes that's not the best thing to get papers down nice. And I love this wood grain. So if I'm stenciling, I use the back side. Well, this one's been cut up a little bit, as you can see, but really doesn't show up when you're done anyway. But I'm going to use this side today that has the wood texture. Oh, it looked like I'm in good frame so you can see everything. So I'm just going to start. So what I did is I want this part to kind of be like the road. So I kind of did that with that. And then this was just the other side of the paper, and it was laid out, I think it was like something like that. So this area is pretty much covered with the stencil, but not completely. So, I mean with the truck and flowers, I'm sorry. And so I did this, and just to kind of cover, so you'll get an idea for this pretty quickly here. Why does it seem like I'm short on paper? Let's see, this goes about here. Okay, somehow. All right, something's not right, but no worries. I'm just going to grab some book page and use that. This is what book page is. This is an old book that I've altered, and I just got this for like a nickel or something at the thrift store. You know, they just throw them out eventually. But anyway, it's just an old book. Use a little bit of book page where I don't quite have enough of what I need. And it will all work out just fine. I don't like to put things right side up, book page, so that I could read them. I don't like that for myself, unless it's something I want to be sort of a focal point, but I don't have that going on here. So anyway, we'll just end up doing this. So I'll just take these off and it'll kind of go like that. So I'm going to take the biggest pieces off and just get going on this so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I just like to put a bunch of decoupage on, or not too much. As I've talked about before, it's kind of the key with decoupage, is to not use too much or too little. I love using the card because it sort of spreads it out nice. I don't worry too much if it goes over the edge a little, because I can just put a little decoupage on it and fold it under. So it should work out just fine. Not worried about it at all. That piece there. Let's see, maybe I need to look at my truck again for a second, because I want that to be under the truck. Yeah, that should work out pretty well. Maybe I will, well, no, I'll be fine. Indecision, right? Which thing to put down first? That is the whole thing to decide with collage, mixed media type art. What do you want down first? Because what do you want your finished piece to look like? I have a very good idea what I want it to look like. I need some flowers in spring. I'm so tired of winter. Where we live in Spokane, Washington, it was a pretty mild winter, but in late September we got a very cold snap with some really nasty weather and some snow even. Killed my vegetable garden instantly. I was so frustrated, and I'm so tired of it. I'm sure many of you feel that way, and I'm sure many of you have had much worse winters than we have. So don't get me wrong, I know it could be a lot worse. I'm just really tired of it. I just got back from vacation in a sunny area and I felt so good. I came home immediately. I'm all achy again and not feeling my best. And of course life starts happening. But you know, that's how it goes. Anyway, I'm ready for spring. I need some spring flowers. I love the color turquoise. I love the truck. As soon as I saw this truck stencil, I knew I wanted to do a Christmas truck with trees and a tree in the back of the truck. And I knew I wanted to do a turquoise truck. I did do the Christmas one. It was before I was making videos. So I don't have a video on that. But oh, I just loved it. And I had so many. I think I had 4 classes on that. And I also made a bunch for gifts for Christmas. And I also sold quite a few for Christmas in my local area. So that was really fun. Anyway, I love the truck. I also made an orange one on an old brick and put pumpkins in it. And that was really fun also. So maybe I'll have a class this year on that one. I don't know. It was kind of too late last year when I got it. Didn't get it together in time. So who knows? I have so many ideas for classes coming up, and I'll probably make a video pretty much every time I'm making my own and what I kind of call my sample piece, because when I put a class up, I like to put a picture up with it. So that works out pretty well. All right, so the next step in this is to dry it a little bit. because I want to use this cool stencil on it. So I'm gonna just dry it a little tiny bit, not too much. Just so my stencil doesn't stick. If I wasn't doing a stencil, I would just go straight to the paint, because paint and matte medium are really, they're the same base, so it really doesn't matter. They go together really well. And you can see I've used this stencil a lot. I love it. It's one of my favorite stencils, especially when I'm thinking about summer and, oh, you know, just all that brings. I'm just kind of trying to decide where I want to have it at. I think I want to have it right there. And this area here, well, no paint's going to go through there right now because it's a stencil. But what I'm going to do is, when I'm done with I'm going to mix a little yellow and maybe a little white. I'm not sure yet. Not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, and I don't see a makeup sponge, so I'm just going to use a foam brush. It'll be all right. So I'm going to have a little bit of two things, and I might use this, one of my favorite paints, Quinacridone Nickel Azo Gold. I think that's how you say it. It's golden brand. It's just lovely stuff. Beautiful color. I've used it before. Anyway, we'll see how this works out. We'll just go from here. So this is sort of a quick way to do a stencil that's not, you know, this isn't a stencil that is fine line. You can see it's got big areas, and it's not quite the same thing. When you use a really delicate fine line stenciler, you need a very, very crisp stencil line. You would probably do it differently than this, but basically the same principle. But this is just such an easy thing that I don't know, I'm just bringing a little lighter yellow into this already sort of a yellow background paper I have, because I want my sun to be bright, and I just want a nice sunny day here. And it is a beautiful sunny day out here today. Now remember, this probably won't show, so the truck will cover that, so it doesn't matter that there's some brown there, and I don't worry about that too much anyway. So right here though, I would like this ray to extend out to the edge of the board. So what I'm going to do, and sometimes you have to dry to do this, but I'm not going to this time. We'll just hope it works out and I don't mess it all up, but it'll probably be okay for this project. I just extended that out a little bit. There's so much you can do with your stencils that you don't realize. It's surprising when you start looking at them and think about what you can do. So that's not perfect, but that's okay. I'm just gonna fill it in a little bit. So that looks pretty good to me for what I'm looking for. But remember, I do want this sun, so I'm just gonna add kind of I might have to get a little more paint out, but I'm gonna add some yellow in here, sort of exaggerated. And I'm gonna take a tiny bit of red, maybe if I can get it out of the bottle. Come on, what's going on here? Sorry about that. All right, I guess I'm stopped up pretty bad here. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna get my brush out and, oh, maybe this paint's ready to get thrown out. That happens, you know, gets dried up and stuff. This is actually patio paint. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but It's been around forever, probably 20 years or something, and I just had some, and I never got to do the project I bought it for, and so I just use it, and it works out fine. All right, I'm going to add just a couple drops of this pretty color because it goes so far. Hopefully this all mixes to the color I'm wanting, but I think it will eventually. I might have to play with it back and forth a little bit, which is, you know, pretty common. Mixed media, you just keep playing with things until you get them how you want them. We saw some, actually when we were flying home, we saw a gorgeous sunset through, you know, while we were up in the sky. It was so vivid. It was above the clouds. It was really a just beautiful thing. And that's about the color it was all the way across the sky. It was this really deep, gorgeous red with sort of a flamey looking thing past that. It's really incredible. So I'm just going to extend some of this out a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of blot it up. You'll see in a second here. I just want a little more of that gorgeous color. So that's probably pretty good. So sometimes I just save old wet wipes when they're not that bad from paint classes, and I just use them as my blotter, I call it. And what you do is you just blot this up until it's where you like it, and then you just dry it. So we'll see how this is. If it's not right, we'll add some more. It'll probably be pretty good. Like I said, it doesn't matter too much. It doesn't have to be perfect. My main focus is the flowers and the turquoise truck, because I've already said I'm so ready for spring. The only reason that I need to dry this, because as I said, decoupage and paint, acrylic paints work fine together. They're just kind of the same base. But the only reason I really need to dry this is that I wouldn't want it to smear all over my turquoise truck, because I want that to be very, well, just very unchanged, other than what I'm going to do with my Sharpie work at the end. I want it to be turquoise, and I don't want yellow on it making it green, even though turquoise is a greenish color, of course, but I hope you like this video, and if you do, and you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love it if you would subscribe, and I'd love it if you'd leave me a comment. I'm open to constructive criticism or just encouraging words. It's very helpful to me. I'm very new at this, and I need your help to find out what I need to do. So I sort of just keep plugging along at it, showing you what I know, but there's certainly things I can learn, no doubt about that, and I want to make it an enjoyable video for you. I do realize I'm a little slower than a lot of people. If that bothers you, just fast forward through it. You can always rewatch it if you see something you want to see. So don't feel like you can't do that, because you can. And it's perfectly fine. Oh yes, and give me a thumbs up, please. Really appreciate it. Help me to grow my channel. Just be a very big help to me. All of it. And I appreciate it very much. I'm going to lay the flour, this big flour thing down, and then I'm going to kind of deal with whatever I need to with it. I'm not sure how it'll be. So I sort of designed this so that it would hang way over the bed and the top of the truck, and you could see the window still. If that makes any sense. And there's a whole bunch of these that I'm going to have to go back and stick down really well, because these are all little pieces I fussy cut out and laid down, and there's a whole bunch of dry areas that have not been decoupaged. So what I do for my classes is I make something up like this. I figure it out, and then I copy it on my copier, and so all they have to cut out is the large flower and the truck and the butterflies. They don't have to cut out these 20 flowers or whatever I have on here. And I feel like that helps them to not feel overwhelmed about time and getting all these things cut out. So I hope that helps them. And sometimes we cut everything out. Don't get me wrong. Once in a while you got to do what you got to do. So that's all there is to it. Sometimes you just got to cut everything out and put it down, but most of the time, not so much. Well, I have this idea, and this is just sort of how I want to do this. And you don't have to. The other thing is, by the way, when you're cutting out butterflies, I never cut out the antenna. I go back and I draw them in with my my Sharpie. That's way too fussy. I'm never going to do that. And I've really been trying to come up with what I was going to use for a saying, and I kind of just keep coming back to this same thing. I'm so ready for sun and flowers. I may just write spring across here, or sunshine, or something like that. Now, I can tell I've got a little bubble right in here, but I don't worry about that too much, because as the paper shrinks back down, because when you get it wet, it changes the texture of it. But as it dries back down, that will probably just stick down. It's usually not a problem, and I don't honestly worry about it very much at all. I'm going to mix a little bit of, I'm going to paint a little bit of white paint where the window is, because I don't want this to exactly show through. And then I might add just a tiny bit of yellow into that and go over it again. But right now I want to cover those words, because your window, you probably wouldn't see words like that through it. Even though this isn't realistic, of course. But nonetheless, that will be a better situation, I think. I'm also going to, I decided when I did this, I was going to paint the tires kind of white, which isn't really what it would be, but I just kind of want to do that because it's a summer thing. I don't know. I just want to, so I'm going to. The other thing is, see, I use white Sharpie pens too. And so I can go back and get all this little fine detail that I might not be able to get with this brush, or I might miss it or something. So I don't worry too much about that either. So this is the fender line. I'm going to pretend the tires would be all the way under the fender line. That might not be the real case. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I can't visualize it, I guess. Can't think of what an old truck looks like right now with the tires. And maybe there's different, depending on if they have them lowered or higher or whatever. So that could be. I'm just going to kind of color most of it in, and then I'm going to go back with black Sharpie and white Sharpie, so not too worried about it. I'm also going to color these are headlights really here. Like I said, I just traced the stencil, so I have to do a little bit of work to get a few things how they would probably kind of look anyway. Same thing, I can go over it with my paint Sharpie, my white paint Sharpie. Or I can go over it again with paint too, because once it dries you can go over it and just give it a, it's better to let it dry, otherwise you're just moving wet paint around. So it's always the best way to do it. I've covered up the door with the flowers so we won't see those, but I think for these bolts, I think I'll make them white also. Just for fun since it's summer. I don't know. Not really sure like I said, but I'll be playing more with it as we go along. So I said I wanted to add a little bit of yellow into that. So I'll water a little of that down, maybe see if I can get a little bit of yellow tint to it. I have to add a little more paint, I guess. There we go. I want it to, I don't. Hello again, my art friends. I didn't realize the camera had shut off. Like I said, I was just on vacation and I had some other videos on there and I didn't realize that would shorten the time I had to do this video. So I'm sorry. As I watched it back, I realized a couple things. When I held this up to talk to you about this stencil hanger, I'll call it, this little plastic thing. I don't know, it's really hard to see. Maybe you can see it with that. I don't know, I'm not sure what would make it easier to see. Maybe that, I don't know. I hope you could see it there. So anyway, what I was talking about, it has this little hook thing, and then it's sticky down here, so you can stick it on your stencil and you can hang it on a piece of wire, and it just hangs like this. So hopefully you could see that. Now, like I said, I did not realize that it had cut off. So I finished what I was doing, and this is how it came out. I did all my Sharpie work, and I wrote sunshine because that's what this was kind of about for me. This and that and the turquoise truck. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, give me a thumbs up and all those things if you would, please. And thank you very much. See you next time. Bye-bye.